So they are making a TV show out of Harry Potter. You might have heard about this. This thing is going to be really big. The cultural machine demands content for the mill, so it'll get a lot of attention, but it'll be much discussed. But my brother and I were talking the other day. He's not as plugged in to the entertainment industry machinations as I am, but he and I were both big Harry Potter fans when we were young, and he asks, "You hear about this? They're making a Harry Potter TV show." And what I say to that is the thing I always say when this is brought up, which is the prediction I have made in my life that I am most proud of, because I'm so often wrong about things, is in 2018, when the movie Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald failed at the box office, I said, here's what's going to happen. Within 10 years, they are going to remake the Harry Potter novels as a TV show, one book per season, because basically people don't care about JK Rowling's universe of stuff. They just like Harry Potter. So they just want to see Harry Potter again. So that's what they will do. And lo and behold, I'm right. It's basically the only thing I've ever been right about, but I never turned down a chance to pat myself on the back about it. But yeah, me and my brother are talking about this, and he says, "So you going to watch the show?" And I say, "No, absolutely not." And he says, "Oh, because JK Rowling, she's a transphobic piece of shit." And I said, "I mean, she is, yes. But it's more because this thing looks like the most artistically bankrupt endeavor I have ever seen, But my brother posed an interesting question after that, something I hadn't considered. What if this show starts and you hear from trusted sources, actually, it's really, really good? It's like, how could that even be possible? We're not that far removed from them already having made movies out of these books. I mean, come on. How could it be possible that this TV show can be really, really great? And so we were talking and theorizing about what that might look like. And it did get me thinking, because a thing I say on my podcast, One Week Rental, a lot, and a thing I say in my videos is that I am not that big on, or I don't think originality is that important. And I don't think plot is the most important element of a story. So, and I'm also somebody who doesn't care about spoilers, because for me, what's interesting is not what happens, but how something happens. So the fact that I already know everything that's going to happen in a Harry Potter TV series, like, why should that stop me from enjoying it? Because they might execute things in wholly fresh feeling ways. You know what I'm saying? But we know from the marketing that they've already put out that they're not trying to do something fresh and exciting. In fact, the opposite. They want to really, really go for the look and feel of the old movies, in terms of production design, costumes, everything. They want it to feel in universe to those movies. They're just going to tell the same stories again, but with different actors. And they have an investment in this. They have theme parks all around the world that use this production design and these costumes, these things that originated in the movies, the 8 movies that came out between 2001 and 2011. So it is impossible for me to just ignore that and not just see this as a craven attempt to rejuvenate a brand that they've already so heavily invested in. It's a degree of cynicism and calculation that I don't think we've seen before. Even Sony, when it rebooted Spider-Man in 2012, in terms of artistically, that was a more defensible decision, because Spider-Man as a character had existed over decades and decades and thousands of issues of comic books and all kinds of other media created by so many different people. So there's so much to choose from, so many different things you can emphasize. You can have a new take on this character because you have so much to work with. That's not the case here. You have 7 novels that were all written by one person, published over not that long a period of time. And most importantly, she's going to be there, and she's going to say no to any attempts to diverge, to emphasize things she didn't care about. The only thing that a devotee of these novels can hope to see in the TV series is something that was in the books that didn't make it to the movies, just because of the fact that movies are time limited. So I finally get to see Peeves, the poltergeist, but I don't give a shit about that because I can just read the books. But is there any other way that this thing could actually be good? The only thing I can really conceive of is a dramatic divergence from the source material. I mean, dramatic. So, if Ron Weasley dies at the end of episode 4, or if it turns out Harry Potter does not have magic at all, and this show is about him going through 7 years of magic school faking it, or if all the characters were trans. If that happened, I would be like, oh, you've at least got my attention. There's countless examples of novels that get remade over and over again, and the mini remakes have their different merits. I mean, like Pride and Prejudice got a great TV miniseries in the 1990s, and then less than 10 years later, there's a great movie directed by Joe Wright that came out in 2005, and he wanted to go for something that felt different from the 1990s miniseries. He wanted to emphasize sort of the mud and the grime that would have been the reality for these people living in the early 1800s in rural England. You bring a fresh take and a fresh perspective to the material, but in the case of Harry Potter, you can't do that by design because the creator of that material is there. She is on set. She is there to veto any decision that differs from what she wants. Because here's the thing about JK Rowling. In addition to being a bigoted and hateful piece of shit, she's also a washed up hack. Let me tell you a story. In 2007, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows is published. Me and my friends all gobble it up. And then we are in agreement that probably 5 years at most, we're going to get the first book in JK Rowling's new series, young James Potter or young Lily Potter. And we'll get, I don't know, between 7 and 14, maybe 21 books in that new series, a new one every 3 years, and then a new movie adapted from that. Harry Potter prequels and movies for the rest of our lives. She would have been just like so many other fantasy novelists. And it's very respectable. You just keep creating novels and works in the fictional universe you've created. Philip Pullman returned to his Dark Materials. Suzanne Collins keeps pumping out Hunger Games prequels. Nothing wrong with that, except J.K. Rowling did not want to do that. She wanted to be a respectable grown-up writer. So in 2012, she puts out The Casual Vacancy. This is her novel for grown-ups, and it is a big bestseller. Millions of people buy it. I bought it, but then like everyone else, I read 30 pages of it and gave up and then said like, oh yeah, I read it. Yeah, it's good. All the reviews were very positive, but they had to be because these are, book critics who felt bad about the fact that they had really enjoyed Harry Potter, which is a series of novels for children. So they have to invest meaning in her abilities as a writer. Like, oh, actually, she's very sophisticated novelist for grown-ups. No, it's a total lie. And nobody cared. And nobody cares about her series of crime novels that she wrote under a pseudonym or all the other garbage that she puts out. She's too craven to return to the world that people care about and just write a 700-page novel that would meet the expectations people already had for the books that they loved. Instead, it's much easier for her to write screenplays, something she is not able to do, or, write one-page treatment for stage plays and have somebody else write it. So instead, we return once again to the thing she started with, and we'll just regurgitate it and we'll eat our droppings until we die. So if there's not going to be any major changes in this edition of Harry Potter, if it's not going to turn out that Harry Potter is actually set in space, or that it's 4,000 years in the future, there's a few minor things I think that can happen that can at least say, this is a worthwhile effort. And it's a thing the first is a thing that I actually think is going to happen, and it's worth doing. Both the Harry Potter novels and the movies were restricted to Harry Potter's perspective. It was third person, limited point of view. You only see what Harry sees for the most part, and you know what he's thinking. But in a TV show, I think that this TV show is going to leave his perspective. We're going to follow other kids. We'll follow teachers, and we will get the inevitable episode 7 flashback episode where we're following young Snape or whoever. That way they don't have to pay the main cast. They can just bring on new actors. That's why every TV show does this now. Or we get the episode where Hermione is studying the whole time and we don't leave the room. It's just her in the library, the Hermione bottle episode. Again, cheaper to make TV that way. And then another prediction I will make is this. I think that the show is going to make the mildest, subtlest allusion to a minor character being trans. And it may not even literally be that the character is trans, but that people can generously read it and say, I think that character is actually trans. And then people who watch the show will run with this as proof that this is the version of Harry Potter it's okay to enjoy. In fact, it's an epic clapback to JK Rowling to show her what a piece of shit she is, even though this will all be approved by her and all just returns money to her pocket. So I really could see something like that happening. Those are my predictions. I would like to hear from you about your predictions for how this thing could actually be good. Realistic predictions for how a TV series that's just going to faithfully regurgitate everything we have already seen can be good. And, in a year, we'll know if my predictions are right. So tell me if I'm right. Don't tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not going to know either way because I'm not going to be watching this thing.